This thing, once it is full, it should start to generate 70 KFE. This thing, it's pretty expensive. Hello everybody and welcome back to some more All the Mods 9. Today, there will be no more magic. Magic time is over. We are stepping back into technology. And of course, with technology, that means it's time to start generating even more power. Now, our current source of generation is this extreme reactor. It is a 7x7, and it's pretty decent. If we look inside of here, it generates 39,000 FE a tick. That's pretty good, but we can do better. And the best part is, if we do better, it will still be using this thing as well. So either this thing will still be able to generate power, or it won't, but what it will go into will vastly increase the power output. So either way, we'll still gain a profit. But the catch of all of this is, what we're doing hinges on if we have enough of this cyanite. If we do not have enough of this, we will not be able to do this in the way I am wanting to. We are going to be making an extreme reactor turbine. The turbine basically goes along with the reactor, but by making the reactor actively cooled by water, it will then generate the steam that this turbine then uses to generate power. And it can generate even more power. Now, there is a small downside to this little quest book that we have right here. This is going to be using all of the basic ones. I'm going to be using the reinforced ones in the actual build, but the only difference between the basic and the reinforced is the fact that basic uses iron and reinforced uses steel. So all the recipes are basically the same other than that. So while I'm going through all of these, just imagine me replacing it with steel. So the first things we need to make is the turbine housing and the turbine controller. So the turbine housing right here just takes 4 iron, 4 cyanite, and 4 steel. Yes, we're totally using steel, 100%. We got that down, there we go. And after that, we just need to use those 4 steel-induced turbine houses, 100%, mixed with 2 cyanite blocks and a redstone comparator. Now, the cyanite, while it was still over in the mining dimension, I did hook it up to my ME system with the power of these external buses with one over there. So I am actually able to get the cyanite over here. Just wanted to throw that out there in case anyone was a little bit confused as to how I was getting this over to here. But now we can go ahead and make, that's not what I wanted to grab. We can go ahead and make ourselves this turbine controller. All of the basic tier, which will be changed later. So next up, what we're going to want is we're going to want to get some turbine glass. Now, turbine glass is basically sort of like how the reactor glass was back when we made that in the earlier video. Be sure to check it out at this one, where we turn the casing into the glass by surrounding it with glass. Now, right over here, this thing is for coils. This is what will allow this thing to generate power. Any metallic block will do for this, but the different ones do have different effects on this. So I'll explain this later, but the one we're going to be doing is called Enderium. So the next things that we're going to need is going to be the active forge energy power tap. It has to be active. If it's passive, it doesn't work right. But there we go. Now we got that one. We can actually also turn this one back as well. And I believe we need to make 2 more of these ones for this next one, because we need to make 2 of these active forge fluid ports. This is where the fluids are going to get in from. And as it turns out, I'm gonna go ahead and need to grab some more lava. Now we can go ahead and do this again, and there we go. That should be that quest also completely done. We can go ahead and check this one off because that's just a checkable. And then this one is where we're going to make the basic meat and bones of this. Now this one is a little bit sad for a specific reason, which I will get into in a second. But what we need is we need to make this turbine rotor bearing, which doesn't use any cyanite. That's good for me. But then we also have the shaft, which does use some cyanite. That is the wrong kind of shaft, though. We needed this one, which we can go ahead and grab right there. I believe this one wanted me to grab multiples. Yeah, that one wanted me to make 4 and then 8 of the other one. It's such a waste of the cyanite. Oh gosh. Okay, so we can go ahead and turn those ones into that. There we go. And then we can use this recipe right here with just 2 iron and a cyanite and or 2 steel. And then we can go ahead and make 8 of these. There we go. Now, why this one's a little bit sad is because unlike everything else, which we can convert back into the normal stuff so that way we can then upgrade it, these things can't be converted. So we just have these ones now, and we will not be using them at all in the slightest. It is sad, but you know what? We can learn to live with it. So now that we have all of those things at the ready, the last thing that we need is going to be the coils. Now, I did say I'd mention this in a little bit later, but for right now, we're just going to actually need to craft the Enderium in itself. So Enderium is pretty interesting in the fact that it needs lead, platinum, ender pearls, and hammers to be able to craft it. I need 37 of the blocks, so I ended up automating platinum and lead with my digital miner, and I already have way more than enough. And I actually set up everything I'm going to need in the auto crafting right over here. So to get myself the blocks I'm going to need, if I did the math correct, I need 333 of this. And then we just need to set that going, and then we can get started. Now, one thing I should probably note is that in the patterns right here, when I was setting them up, I needed to set substitutes to yes, because apparently when using the hammer for the craftings and stuff like that, it wanted it to be perfect NBT, so every time it used it once, then it would want to make another hammer. So that was slightly annoying. It took me a while to figure that out, but there we go. Now it's rapidly going down. How are we doing on the Enderium? Looks like we're doing fine. Oh, okay, it's currently making the lead. Okay, so that's gonna take a little while, but once that is done, we should have that at the ready. I'm gonna gather up all that I'm gonna need, and then we're gonna head over into the mining dimension, and then we're gonna make this turbine. It really is just gonna be a bunch of crafting these things and then building it, so it's pretty simple.
Eventually,
I managed to get all of the blocks. It took me a very long time, and it actually took all of my cyanite. So that is a little bit fun. So let's go ahead and turn on F3 and G so that way we can see in here. That is good. So then we just want to build out by 7. That should be right. There we go. And then we need to build out by 7 here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. That should be good. And then in this center block right here, we want to break it because we don't want this one to be the casing. We want this one to be, where is it? There it is, the turbine rotor bearing. So we put that there. And then from there onwards on top of that, that is where we're then going to put the rotor shaft. We want this thing to go all the way to the very top. On top of this one, this is where the roof is gonna be. So this reaches to the very tip. Okay, there we go. Then after that, this one was in by 3, so we just need to build out by 3. That should be good. Same on this side. 2, 3. There we go. Then after that, it's just a matter of going out the rest of the way. It should still be 3 on each side. There we go. That should be good. There we go. Then it's really just a matter of bringing the casing all the way up like this.
12 seconds later.
Alrighty, and now that we've gotten all of those down, we didn't actually make the glass for a specific reason. I knew how much casing I was gonna need, at least a rough idea. But what I didn't know was how much of that casing would then be converted into the glass. So I'm going to be doing that after all of this. But now that we've gotten all that down, the next thing on our list is to go ahead and then put down all of these rotor blades. We will put in 2 on each layer until we get the whole number. We wanted 80 of these. And if my calculations are correct, it should go up to this one. These top 2 will not be filled in. So hopefully this should work out. And the reason why I want so many will be revealed in a little bit. Let's just go ahead and put the rest of these down.
5 minutes later.
There we go. All those are now down. So, that looks right. Yeah, cool. Okay. So then, now that we've gotten all those down, up here is where we're going to put our enderium blocks. This is kind of the coils of this thing is basically what this is. So when the propellers are spinning, they don't generate the power alone. Not even the steam does it. It is when it goes into these coils that it is going to do that. Now, obviously, they aren't actually coils, but that's basically what these are going to act as. So the reason why I needed 37 of them is because the perfect number for the enderium blocks is going to be 37 at this tall. So we're just going to want to go ahead and then put it in something like this. And hopefully it should... I hate when it keeps doing that. But hopefully it should be ready here. And then we put this last block right there. And there we go. That's the enderium. So with it like this, it's going to generate a pretty good bit of power. Now all that's left to do is going to be to put down these position blocks right here. We're going to go ahead and put the controller right here. Then we can go ahead and then put the forge tap there. And then we can go ahead and put the fluid imports and outports right here. I can't change it until after this thing's set up. So after that, it's just time for me to get all the glass.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Alrighty, so once I put down this last one, this should be completed. And yes, there we go. The multi-block has been completed. And there we go. It is all ready and raring to go. So then, now that we have all of this here, there is one problem that some of you may have noticed, which is that this thing is going to require the steam that I had mentioned earlier. But my reactor over there, that doesn't make steam. Well, I may have a fix for that, but first and foremost, let's go ahead and then change this one to the outlet. There we go. And let's also go ahead and then put this entangled binder right here as our thing right here onto the inlet right over there. Now then, this is gonna be a bit of a pain, because what we're gonna need to do now is we're gonna need to take a big risk. So I'm going to go ahead and break one of these blocks and change it out for another one. So where do we want to put this? Well, actually, there's water right there, so this would be the perfect spot to put it just for the safety's sake. So let's go ahead, break this down. Oh gosh, it's gonna require a pick. Oh, it's gonna be dangerous. Oh, it's dangerous. Okay, there we go. That's broken down. And now we have the fluid import. And then we can also put another one right here for that to be the outport. And then I want this to turn back on because it should still hopefully generate power. It doesn't look like it is, actually. Yeah, it's not. So once it's converted, it no longer generates. Well then, let's go ahead and pipe this up right over to here. Hopefully this will go well. I really don't know how well this can go, but it hopefully will go well. So, is the water now going into there? It doesn't look like it is, actually. Is that actually the inlet? Yeah, this is the inlet.
1 hour later.
Okay, I figured it out, but I don't know why I figured it out. So, what the difference was between the active and the passive ports, I found out was that the active ones can just pull things from an adjacent source. But for the passive ones, those are the ones that have to be piped in. What I think I found out is that this one actually has to pull things from an adjacent source. So I just put a tank here, and now it works. So that works. I don't know why that works, but it works. So now I can change this one to an outlet, and it should have the steam. And then what I can now do is I can click on this, and then that should then become entangled to this one. And now it might just not put any of the steam in whatsoever. Alright, so I'll put this tank here, and then let's see. Can I change that one's configuration? Yes, to that. And then we put this one like so. Is it now converted? It's not. That's interesting. Wait a minute. I remember what I had to do now. I needed to put that into the gravity table, and yes. Now that should work. There we go. Now that's one's connected to the tank. That's pretty good. Okay, then. So now that this one is connected to tank, hopefully this would work now. So, let's go ahead, change these guys out once more for hopefully the final time. Let's go ahead, put you there, you there. I can put this tank right back here. That should pour the water in. And if I go ahead and look back at it, yep, the water is going in. Once it's on, it goes up much higher and hotter. So, this one shouldn't be able to blow up, but just in case, let's go ahead and put that there. The steam is there, which means hopefully now the steam's in there. That is beautiful. So now, once I turn this baby on, it's gonna convert the steam back into water, which is pretty good. So now that that has returned to its liquid coolant state, I want to make sure that this vents excess coolant. And I think if I wanted to, I can go ahead and like change these things around. So like I could configure, yeah, I could do it like this. Okay, so if I put this one right here, then I can go ahead and put this entangled block here, and then we can just convert that one to there, and then the water will go back over to here. My main concern though is, yeah, now the water's going down because that thing is gonna use up a lot of power. Well, it's gonna generate a lot of power from a very small amount of steam. So if I was to go ahead and go back over here and take the flux plug out from over here because we don't need it to be here anymore, then we can go ahead and then put this one onto this one's forge tap. That should then start maneuvering the power. It's not, because the coils are disengaged. Engage the coils, and now we are generating 10 KFE. That is good, and it is going to continue to go up as long as this thing is up. Now, unfortunately, the main problem here is this. That is our battery. It's not going to go very well if that thing isn't filled up fast. So, what's gonna happen is, once this thing exceeds the 30,000 that this thing was generating, it should start to fill it up. Yes, it's filling it up, which means we should be out of that range. If I go ahead and look in here, we're not, but that means that I actually need a lot less power than I actually initially thought, but that's good. So, as I said before, that thing was generating 30 KFE. This thing, once it is full, it should start to generate 70 KFE, which is pretty good. Now, here's the real kicker. With all the steam that this thing should generate, I could probably power a few of these things. At the very least 3, maybe even 5. This thing just took so much cyanite, man. And all of the stuff for the Enderium, that was slightly annoying to get. Like, that one's probably the least annoying thing out of all of this. But it's just, this thing, it's pretty expensive. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick with this one for right now. And I want to get this thing upgraded as soon as I can. How do you upgrade this? Well, it's with those rotors, of course. Because the different blocks that we are using for these things generates different amounts of power. The one for Enderium is one of the best ones that I can do. It's the best one I can do right now. The best one that you can do is in cyanite. So once we start getting down the line for the cyanite, once we can get 37 of those, which is an ingredient for the Alderaan star, so, you know, we're gonna want to make a lot of those. This thing should become pretty insane. Wow, this thing's gonna take a while to get up to speed, but we're already matching where we were at before, so you know what? I'd say it's fine. For the last achievement along the line for the propeller, we have this thing right here, which is 100 million FE. I first need to make myself this task screen, which some of you may recognize from FTV Skies. It's a fairly simple recipe. All we need is a book and 8 stone. I actually do want to make sure I do something because I know I didn't do this yet. I wanted to chunk load this. Could be very bad if I don't leave it chunk loaded, so we got it chunk loaded now. So then, we're gonna use this bad baby to get ourselves all the way up on the power. So let's go ahead and find this. 1 million. Apparently there's only 2 things for this one, so this should be pretty good. Let's go ahead, plop this in the back, and this will use everything connected to this network, which is pretty much just this since the reactor is no longer doing it now. Let's go ahead, change it to all the power. Did it fill up already? Okay. So then, now with all of that, let's go ahead and then collect all of our rewards. Wow, what is this? Oh, we got another flux storage. Wait, that's actually pretty good. Okay, wait, and then this one didn't get collected. Mana pearls. I don't need those just yet. But the Herculean storage. Is that the max one? Wait, that's the one for this one. Was that the max? No, it wasn't the max. The maximum was the gargantuan. Okay. But what this does mean, though, is I can connect another battery. There we go. That's awesome, actually. Okay, so we can click bypass limit on that one. And now we've got ourselves 2 backlogs on this. Dude, that just worked perfectly. All right, I appreciate this. So did you like this video? Good. Then be sure to check out our last All the Mods 9 video where we did some forbidden arcanas to automate the Eternal Stella for the All the Mods star. Bye-bye!